Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, today's show, this is how it's going to go down. All right, we're starting off talking about Larry Fitzgerald coming back to the Cardinals for a 15th season. All right, we're going to talk about him. And then for the rest of the show, we're going to, for the second and third segment, as you know, for Tuesday's show, we talked about teams who haven't won a Super Bowl and talked about who's closest to winning it, what they need to do to win it. So that got me thinking. I was like, that was a pretty nice little segment we did there. I really enjoyed it. So what we're going to be doing for this segment and just going forward till we cover every team is talking about what teams need to do in order to win Super Bowls. All right. So we started off with teams who haven't won Super Bowls. We did that on Tuesday. And then for these two segments, we're going to be doing them. We're going to be talking about teams, like pretty much bad teams. All right. We're going to do like into tiers, okay? We'll talk about teams like the Jets. We'll talk about the Giants. Let's see, who else? What should we talk about? Yeah, we'll do 12 teams, so let me tell you what teams we're talking about. Jets, Giants. We'll go with the Bears, the Bucks. Let's see, how many teams is that? 4 already? Yeah, I think that's 4. All right, we'll go with the Bears, Bucks. We'll go... Again, we're not talking about the teams that have not won a Super Bowl yet because we already talked about those. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about the Broncos. We'll talk about Dolphins. I think that's 6 already, and we'll figure out the other 6 after that because, pretty much just we'll figure it out as we go. All right, so we'll be talking about those teams to start, and then, like I said, for the next couple of segments, we'll be doing the other teams too. So let's get it started. Larry Fitzgerald, let's talk about him. Let's talk about him coming back for his 15th season. Let's talk about him being one of the best receivers of all time, all right? Let's talk about the fact that Larry Fitzgerald, for some reason, just hasn't been one of those receivers that are talked about in the same conversation as like best of all time, not in that Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice conversation there. He's not even in the conversation with guys like Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones. All right, dude's been pretty undervalued, I think, for most of his career, and I think maybe that has to do with the fact that Larry Fitzgerald has just been so consistent, all right? Dude's been one of the best receivers in the league year after year, pretty much since he's been in the league. I think that was he got drafted in 2004, I believe. Let me double check these stats from Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah, been in the league since 2004. Dude's been extremely good since he's been in there. I mean, his rookie year had 58 receptions for 780 yards and 8 touchdowns. All right. Second year had over 100 receptions, had 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns there. And look at his last 3 seasons, dude. He's had 109 receptions, 107 receptions, and 109 receptions again, over 1,000 yards each year, and had 9 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, and 6 touchdowns the last 2 years, all right? Dude has been pretty much lights out since he's been out here. Dude's the Tim Duncan of the NFL, okay? Tim Duncan was in the league from, 1996, I think it was, to 2016, 2015, and was one of the best players. I guess towards the end of his career wasn't one of the best, but nonetheless wasn't a guy who was holding the team back or anything like that. It was still very productive. It's just other players passed him up. And I kind of think that's where Larry Fitzgerald is at now. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's extremely productive, but you guys like Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, all those guys better than him right now. All right, but like I said, I don't think Larry Fitzgerald, unless I'm just not remembering correctly, I don't think Larry Fitzgerald has ever been in that conversation as one of the best receivers in the NFL. All right, yeah, people when they talk about Larry Fitzgerald, oh yeah, he's one of the best receivers, stuff like that. But when it's time to have that conversation, he's never in it. He's just, people say nice things about him. I think that's what it is. All right, they just say nice things. They don't really say that, oh yeah, he's on the same level as an Antonio Brown or anyone else. All right, that's never really something that's brought up. All right, and I think that, I'm not sure if I think that's fair, or obviously it's unfair because just the numbers he's been putting up, but I'm not sure really what it has to do with more. Is it just the fact that he's never Like, the Cardinals have never been a team that were in the playoffs year in, year out. Larry Fitzgerald's just been a guy who has done his job and pretty much, because as a receiver, I mean, it's not like the quarterback position. You can't go and elevate anyone else, like pretty much elevate everyone's player around you, I guess, besides the quarterback. But like, you can't go and you can't lead a team to a playoff run or anything like that. All right, it's usually the quarterback. The only player I've ever seen, just other than the quarterback, lead a team to the playoffs was Adrian Peterson that one year. I think he ran for over 2,000 yards. All right, had Christian Ponder as his quarterback. Wild. All right, wild. The fact that the Vikings got to the playoffs with Christian Ponder as their quarterback. But nonetheless, getting back to Larry Fitzgerald, like, yeah, he just really hasn't been a guy who's made the playoffs year in and year out. Did play in the Super Bowl, did play well. All right, but other than that, really not much to playoff success. And I think that's maybe why people don't talk about Larry Fitzgerald enough, don't really regard him in that top tier of receivers. Because like I said, people, as far as his talent goes, people will tell you all the time, yeah, he's a great receiver, all that. But just when it's time to have a conversation, he's not being brought up. All right, and I think that does have to do, too, with just the lack of playoff success, but also has to do with the fact that, I mean, Arizona's not really the biggest media market, all right? Not really the greatest place if you want to get your name out and stuff like that. All right, if he was if he played for the Jets, the Giants, the Eagles, the Patriots, or any of those other big markets, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald would be he'd be talked about all the time, no doubt. But since he's playing for a team like Arizona, I mean, it's Arizona. No one really considers Arizona a big media market. So I guess it's kind of like just a downside to Larry Fitzgerald's career. I mean, like I said, the dude's been so consistent year after year, and just, I don't know, the dude does not get enough respect. So, I mean, as far as him coming back, I remember that he did say that, at least I'm pretty sure it was him that said that he would only come back if he liked the situation that he was coming back into, and like pretty much they had their whole quarterback situation fixed up and pretty much knew what they were going to do. And obviously he's coming back before they even signed a quarterback or drafted one, so that kind of makes you think, or at least that makes me think, that Cardinals already know what they're doing. They already have a plan in place, and pretty much Larry Fitzgerald knows what it is, all right? I'm not sure if it's try and sign a guy like Kirk Cousins or take a guy in the draft. Taking a guy in the draft, the Cardinals would have to draft someone like in the second or third round. I don't think that with the pick they have right now, I think it's like the 14th, 15th pick, somewhere around there in the mid-teens. I don't think there's too many great quarterbacks that slip to them, all right? I think you're going to have Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Josh Rosen get drafted in the top 10. That's already 3. Then I think Baker Mayfield's going to go to a team like Miami at 11. So that's already 4 quarterbacks. All you have left is Mason Rudolph, Lamar Jackson, and a couple of mid-round type of quarterbacks left, all right? I think Rudolph, you could get away. I think you could get away with trading back in the first round and taking Rudolph later on, getting some picks. And as far as Lamar Jackson goes, I don't think that's a real good fit for Arizona there, all right? But there is a quarterback who will be a free agent this year. All right, it's going to be A.J. McCarron. He won his little grievance hearing against the Cincinnati Bengals, so he will be a free agent. I think Cincinnati's got to pay him some part of his contract from 2014 where they had him on the non-football injury list, I think it was. They got to pay him that plus interest, so I mean, A.J. McCarron's looking pretty good as far as that goes. So A.J. McCarron's going to be a free agent quarterback. That could be a fit for the Cardinals there, okay? A.J. McCarron, in the little bit he showed, he's a pretty decent quarterback, all right? I think he played in a playoff game. I think he won that game. I think it was against the Texans. Can't remember exactly, but nonetheless, he played well, and I think they won that one, all right? A.J. McCarron isn't a guy I don't think that's going to be thrown for over 4,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns, or anything like that. I think that he is a younger version of Sam Bradford, all right? Sam Bradford is probably the safest quarterback in the NFL right now, meaning pretty much he's not going to be terrible, but he's not going to be great, all right? He's going to do just enough to where you have an opportunity to win, all right? He's not going to win you games, but he's going to keep you in games, all right? And I think that's what A.J. McCarron could be, okay? A.J. McCarron, just from what I've seen him play, not the best or anything like that, but nonetheless a guy who's not going to lose you a game, and he's not going to go out and win you a game throwing for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns or anything like that. All right, so he's a safe option. I think what the Cardinals need right now is just safe. Okay, you already got David Johnson in the running back in the backfield. You got Larry Fitzgerald coming back for another year, and then you got a defense that, yeah, it's getting up there in age, but you do have some young guys out there that could pretty much create a nice little balance for you. All right, so A.J. McCarron, as far as fitting in with the Cardinals, I think that'd be a nice little pickup. And speaking of Sam Bradford, I mean, Sam Bradford would be a nice little pickup there too. The Cardinals just need a quarterback who isn't going to do too much, isn't going to hurt them. All right, Maybe they could trade for a guy like Nick Foles, but if you think about it, I mean, Carson Wentz tore his ACL, what was it, week 14, week 15? That takes about a year for you to get healthy from. A year from now, about a year, it's been a couple months, I guess, 10 months from now, where are we? All right, we're mid-season in the NFL, okay? And do we think that Carson Wentz is going to be ready week 1? I don't think so, all right? I think if he was ready week 1, that means either he does like an Adrian Peterson type where he just miraculously heals like crazy, or the Eagles are rushing him. If I'm the Eagles, I'm not letting Nick Foles go anywhere, okay? Because if Carson Wentz isn't going to be my quarterback week 1, then I know my team is good enough around the quarterback to win some games without Wentz, obviously, but you need that quarterback who's going to help you win games, be Nick Foles, okay? You can't let him go if Wentz isn't healthy by week 1. Otherwise, the Eagles are going to get off to a bad start, and they're going to struggle. And I know this is all way too early predictions and stuff like that, but nonetheless, I mean, you can't get rid of a surefire quarterback like Nick Foles as far as playing with the Eagles if you don't know what your situation is looking like at quarterback as far as Carson Wentz goes, all right? So like I said, Nick Foles, I've said it before, Nick Foles would probably be the perfect fit for the Cardinals, but I just don't see the Eagles letting him go just because of the fact that Wentz isn't going to be completely healthy. But like I said, with Larry Fitzgerald deciding to come back so early before they do anything in the draft or free agency, the Cardinals have to know who their guy is going to be at least, all right? They have to have obviously when the draft comes, you can't really know for sure who it's going to be, but if they're thinking free agency, they have to know who their quarterback is going to be, because as far as let's talk about Alex Smith getting traded to the Washington Redskins, all right? Alex Smith knew a few days before the trade even went down that he was going to the Redskins, all right? He already had a long-term contract extension ready for him as soon as the trade went down, signed that, all right? So he had to know about a week before that he was going to the Redskins, okay? And that's one thing about the NFL. Everyone knows what's going on a week before we know what's going on, okay? We're the last to get the news. Don't ever forget that. Whatever Adam Schefter breaks as far as news, everyone knew that before Adam Schefter told us about it, all right? I'm not sure. It's kind of weird how it all works, too. It's pretty much just like, I don't know. It's just everything happens before we see it happen, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But as far as the Cardinals go, all right, good for Larry Fitzgerald coming back. I mean, last year the dude had 109 receptions, had over 1,100 yards, had 6 touchdowns, averaged 10 yards per catch. So, I mean, he hasn't really slowed down. If I'm Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, why even think about retiring if you're playing at this level? All right, third all time in NFL receiving yards. And just like I said, I mean, the dude just has not he just hasn't taken a dip in play, all right? He's just getting older. Let me see, how old is Larry Fitzgerald? Let me see if I can find that out right here. Larry Fitzgerald is currently 34. If I'm Larry Fitzgerald, I'm going to play till I'm bad, all right? I understand some players want to be like, I don't want to have that little dip in my play, kind of like the Kobe Bryant season where you're complete garbage and you take 50 shots in your last game, score 60 points, but then let's take 50 shots. So you don't want to do that, but I mean, as far as Larry Fitzgerald, like I said, it's not looking like the dude's his play is taking a dip. He's, like I said, the last 3 years, he's gone 109 receptions, 107 receptions, 109 receptions, over 1,000 yards each year, had 9 touchdowns 2015 and 6 the last 2 years. So if I'm Larry Fitzgerald, I'm playing till whenever, all right, till I don't have a 100-yard reception season. All right, so we'll see what he does, though. Again, I mean, it's looking like maybe this is going to be his last year coming back, or maybe it's going to be like a Ben Roethlisberger type of thing where he just entertains the question year after year, but ends up coming back. So we'll see how it all ends up for good old Larry Fitz. But for the next segment, we're going to be talking about teams who pretty much talking about lower tier teams, talking about what they need to do to win a Super Bowl and how close they are to winning a Super Bowl, if that makes sense. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. In that first segment, we talked a lot about Larry Fitzgerald, talked a bit about what the Cardinals could do at quarterback, what their plans could be, and pretty much talked about some of the options that they could go after, all right? So we talked about that. Also talked about how Larry Fitzgerald really hasn't got his respect that he's deserved, all right? Dude is one of the best receivers of all time, but we just don't talk enough about it, all right? I'm not sure if it's because he doesn't play in a big media market team or anything like that, or if he just doesn't have too much playoff success, but nonetheless, we need to talk about Larry Fitzgerald more, all right? So we spent a whole segment talking about him, but nonetheless, for this segment and the next, we're going to be talking about 12 teams. All right, I picked 12 teams that I decided to talk about. We're going to talk about each team. We'll do 6 in this segment, 6 in the next. And we're going to talk about what those teams need to do to get to a Super Bowl and how close they are, or what they need to do to win a Super Bowl and how close they are to winning one, all right? Just how we did on Tuesday, talking about the teams who haven't won a Super Bowl yet. We'll do that, talk about 6 teams for each segment, and then rank the chances, all right? Rank whichever team is closest each segment, and then after we're done with the third segment, we'll rank them all as whole as far as 12 teams go. All right, so we'll be doing that. So for the 12 teams, let me give you a bit of a rundown. We're going to be talking about the Giants, the Bears, the Buccaneers, the 49ers, the Jets, the Broncos. Then that'll be this segment right here. Then for the second segment, we'll be talking about the Raiders, the Redskins, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Colts, and then the Seattle Seahawks. All right, so after today, that'll be 24 teams we've talked about, and then next Tuesday's show, we'll talk about the remaining 8 teams, talk about what they need to do, or how close they are also to winning a Super Bowl. All right, so we'll be doing that. So let's start off with the Giants, okay? In the new millennium, all right, they've won 2 Super Bowls with good old Eli Manning, okay? Played well. Tom Coughlin helped get him there. Now, so much since he left, Giants have really done too much, right? I think last Super Bowl came in 2012. Since then, they've been an average team, I guess. Last year had a terrible year. The whole, Ben McAdoo, that whole experiment didn't work, all right? Dude looking like a middle school teacher and then turned into a Sopranos character in his second year. Nonetheless, like I said, it just didn't work out, okay? So now here we are. The Giants don't have a bad team. They had a bad locker room culture, all right, this past season, but the team wasn't that bad as far as overall talent. They hire Pat Shurmur. They hire Arizona's old defensive coordinator, all right, and they hired Mike Shula to be the offensive coordinator, all right. I don't really know too much about Mike Shula besides the fact that I think he's Don Shula's kid, all right. So that's pretty much all I need to know about him. But nonetheless, when it was announced that the Giants would be hiring him as the offensive coordinator, it was looking like Carolina Panther fans were just partying, having the time of their life because Mike Shula was gone. All right. And it's looking like he's not very well liked in the league, all right? From writers, analysis, and fans, people don't really take to Mike Shula too well, all right? Again, I'm not sure why or anything like that. I mean, as far as Carolina goes, their offense has not been the best, so I guess that's why right there. All right, but nonetheless, he's going to be the offensive coordinator for the Giants. All right. So what do the Giants need to do now in order to get back to the Super Bowl and win it? All right. Well, here's the thing, okay? Obviously, you got to wait for Odell Beckham Jr. to get healthy, Brandon Marshall to get healthy. You need a running back. You need to fix up the offensive line a bit. It's looking like Eli is going to be the starting quarterback for the next 2 seasons, unless he stinks it up. And you need to fix up that defense, okay? And I think that as far as the defense goes, it's more of you need a better coach out there, which they got, and you need to change the culture out there, which I think they will, all right? You got to get guys like Eli Apple out of there, or at least let them know that, hey, the world doesn't revolve around you. Get in line, do your job. If not, we'll cut you, and that'll be it. Because no one wants to hire guys who are locker room problems, unless you're an all-world talent like Terrell Owens, okay? No one wants that. And Eli Apple, let me tell you this much, is not an all-world talent, all right? Did not really do too much. So what do the Giants need to do? The Giants need to draft, if they're planning on going with Eli Manning as their starting quarterback this year, I say you go and you draft Saquon Barkley, okay? You go and you draft Barkley. Because if you want Eli Manning to be your quarterback, then actually, I don't know. I feel like they're gonna. I feel like they should draft Barkley if the plan is to keep Eli Manning as a starting quarterback. But I think that they might go with Josh Rosen. All right, just to be a guy that you could group under Eli, because I don't know. It's kind of weird. The Giants are good enough to win now, I think, but it all depends on what Eli Manning could do. Okay. Eli Manning kind of had a down year this past season, but if Pat Shurmur can kind of sharpen him up a bit, get him back to where he was, because I know Eli Manning's like, 35, 36 at least, looks like he's becoming an old man, but nonetheless, if Pat Shurmur could fix him, then, or at least thinks he could, then I say go with Barkley and have one of the best offenses in the league, right? Because you got Barkley playing running back. You don't need Eli Manning to do too much. And even when you need Eli Manning to throw the ball, you're still going to have Brandon Marshall and Eldo Beckham Jr. out there. And don't forget, they got Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram too. So you know what? Yeah, that's what I'm doing if I'm the Giants. I'm drafting Saquon Barkley, building up the defense, and I'm going to trust in my defensive coordinator to pretty much sharpen up everyone again and change that culture as far as they go. Because you had to suspend 2 corners this past season. And you had Eli Apple. You got Landon Collins calling Eli Apple cancer to the team. So, I mean, you got to fix that up. But nonetheless, I mean, the Giants aren't too far off, okay? So that's all I got to say about the Giants. As for the next team, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. Real young team that's rebuilding right now. Hired a new head coach, hired Mark Herzlich to be the offensive coordinator. And what was his name? Matt Nagy is going to be the head coach for that team. You got Mitch Trubisky, who's going to be your quarterback. Hopefully for the Bears, going to be their franchise quarterback. You got a top 10 running back in Jordan Howard. Your receiving corps isn't looking too good. Offensive line is so-so. They hired the offensive line coach from Notre Dame to go coach their offensive line. And I kind of like that hire too, because you got Notre Dame's pumping out first top 10 pick offensive lineman year after year, all right? It's ridiculous. So you hire a guy like that, maybe he could do a good job in the NFL too. And as far as the defense goes, I mean, they're young, but they're quick, and they don't really let you get too much on them, all right? They force turnovers, and like I said, you're really not getting too far. If you catch the ball, you're going down right there. So as far as what the Bears need to do to get back to the Super Bowl, pretty much just develop Mitch Trubisky, okay? Get the ball to Jordan Howard a bunch of times, and find a way to get a number 1 receiver, all right? Because you know what? This free agency class for wide receivers is not the best, all right? We talked about free agents, I think it was last Thursday's podcast. Let me see if I can look through this. I know Jarvis Landry is going to be a free agent, but still trying to work out a deal with the Dolphins. I think Allen Robinson is going to be a free agent, but it's looking like the Jaguars might franchise him or just lock him up to a long-term deal. Let's see. I got the list right here again. See, you got guys like Sammy Watkins, Terrell Pryor, Marquise Lee, Dante Moncrief, Paul Richardson, Mike Wallace, Eric Decker. This free agency class for receivers isn't too great. So I think the Bears are going to have to go out and find a receiver in the draft and pretty much figure it out from there, because like I said, I don't really like these receivers in free agency. If Miami lets let's Jarvis Landry walk, then that's a nice little fit for him in Chicago. That'd be a nice little number 1 receiver there, right? Yeah, he's more of a slot guy, but nonetheless, the dude's has had 400 receptions in his first 4 years. No other receiver has done that. And put into context, the last 4 years, I guess, since Landry started, only one other receiver has had more than 400 receptions, and that's Antonio Brown, all right? So Landry with the Bears, that'd be a nice little pick up there. So if they let him walk, if I'm the Bears, I'm going getting Jarvis Landry, all right? That'd be a perfect option for Mitch Trubisky to throw to, okay? And let's see, like I said, maybe if you get a guy like Landry, then you can draft Quentin Nelson, the offensive guard from Notre Dame. Bring him back with his offensive line coach. That'd be a nice little spot for him there. And like I said, pretty much just need to start building up the team for Trubisky to succeed, okay? And you got to develop that defense a little bit more. I like where the Bears are headed. I think they're going to be a nice little wild card contending team. Don't think they'll make the playoffs or anything like that. They'll probably win 7 games, I think, maybe 8. If they win 9 games, then that's a great season for them. But nonetheless, I think they're going to be pretty good this season as far as a rebuilding team. Then you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, the Buccaneers have a whole lot of problems. All right, you got to figure out what's wrong with Jameis Winston, why he can't just be smarter, and why he's always making these knucklehead turnovers. You got to figure out what to do at the running back position, because year after year, Doug Martin's running numbers have gotten worse. All right, Mike Evans, they haven't talked about a deal yet. You got to figure out what's going on with him. Hope Deshaun Jackson plays well next season. You got to fix up the defense also. All right, secondary was terrible. You got to fix up the D-line a bit too. So I mean, the Bucs have a whole lot to do, and it all starts with Jameis Winston, all right? Because if Jameis Winston plays well and pretty much takes that next step from being a good quarterback to being a great quarterback, then that's going to mask a lot of the problems that they have right now. So, I mean, as far as the Bucs go and making the Super Bowl, they got a lot they got to fix. I mean, I don't know. The Bucks, they got to figure out if they even like their coach, all right? They re-signed, they brought him back for another year. They brought him back for his second year. Crazy to say. But nonetheless, I mean, if the Bucks don't really do too much this season, don't make the playoffs, then I'm sure they're going to fire him. That's going to set him back a little bit more too. So as far as the Bucks and their Super Bowl chances in the near future, it's not looking too good, all right? Then let's go with the New York Jets, okay? The Jets in the Super Bowl really hasn't been... The Jets are like the New York Knicks, all right? Perfect comparison right there. The Jets are the New York Knicks. So much hype around them year after year. Haven't won a Super Bowl since way back when. All right, and just pretty much are only hyped up because of the media out there. All right, the Jets are regarded as one of those teams who, if they're good, it's good for football. I don't know. I think football's done pretty well without the Jets, all right? Talking about the Knicks, I can't stand the Knicks because everyone talks about them like, oh, they're this big team, like they're on the same level as the Celtics and Lakers, and they don't even come close to it, all right? Let me tell you. And the same thing with the Jets. Like, regarded as like up there with all those other top NFL franchises, and they're not. They're just another team in the NFL. But nonetheless, for them getting back to the Super Bowl and winning one, they need to get a quarterback first and foremost. All right, I'm not sure if that's Kirk Cousins or you draft a guy this year, but nonetheless, I mean, they need a quarterback to start. All right, then you need a running back. You also need to fix up the receiving corps a bit. I know Robbie Anderson was nice this season, but he's probably going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season. Plus, I think you're going to need a number two receiver to pair with him. All right, defense is young. They played well. But other than that, I mean, they just got to fix up the offense, all right? They got to hit on all these pickups for the offense. You got to hit on the quarterback, you got to hit on the running back, and you got to hit on the receiver, all right? The Jets, I mean, they're a team, if they do well as far as rebuilding this year, they're a team that could be a playoff team in the next 5 years, I think, all right? If you make the playoffs, anything could happen. So as far as the Jets' chances, they're looking pretty nice, all right? As far as not winning the Super Bowl this year or next year or anything like that, but as far as the 6 teams I've listed, they probably have better odds than... I don't know, actually, because I take the Giants over the Jets right now. All right, let's talk about the last 2 teams, and then we'll do the rankings, actually. So let's go with the Denver Broncos, okay? What's their Super Bowl chances looking like getting back and winning another one? Last time they won one was 2013, I believe, when they... Was it 2013? Yeah, 2013 when they beat the Panthers, okay? Or was that 14? I think that was 14. Can't remember exactly. 2012 was when they lost to the Seahawks. 2013 is when the Seahawks lost to the Patriots. Yes, it was 2014. All right, these last 2 years have been complete wastes. John Elway completely screwed this up. All right, they should have been competing for Super Bowls this last 2 years, at least being in the playoffs year after year, but John Elway doesn't know how to scout a quarterback or pick one, okay? So I think this year they got to go and they got to get Kirk Cousins. They get Kirk Cousins, and that's a playoff team right there. They're still pretty young. Most of their players are in their prime still. Looking like they're going to be getting rid of C.J. Anderson, but I mean, as far as running back goes, I mean, teams don't really treat that as an important position, so they'll be fine. If you get Kirk Cousins and he plays well, then that's a team who can go out and win a Super Bowl within the next couple of years, all right? Because like I said, you still got a defense who's still pretty young. The only reason they struggled so much was because of the fact that they were on the field the entire game, it felt like, all right? Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, not guys you really want to count on. So as far as Denver, I mean, they need to get a Kirk Cousins and make something happen with that 5th pick in the draft. So I think that their chances as far as getting back and winning one are pretty good, I think, as far as the teams I'm talking about, obviously, all right? And for the final team of this segment, we're going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers, all right? The San Francisco Jimmy G's, okay? Recently signed Jimmy G to a 5-year, $137.5 million contract. Big time move right there by the front office, all right? You needed to get that done. Now, what do you do? All right? As of right now, Jimmy G, from how he played, makes them a playoff contender, okay? I know it's early. I know he's only had 7, 8 starts, I think, in his NFL career. But he looked good. Now you got to start building a team around him, all right? You need to start getting solid receivers. I know that they have guys out there that they like, but let me tell you this, none of them are number 1 receivers, okay? And they need to figure out what they're going to do at the running back position. Do you go with Carlos Hyde, or do you try and hope a guy like Saquon Barkley falls to your lap with the 9th or 10th pick, whichever one it may be, all right? And as far as the defense goes, you're still pretty young. You got to figure out what you're doing with Reuben Foster, though, because he's dealing with some legal issues right now. And like I said, if it doesn't end well for Foster as far as the legal issues, and they say, oh, whatever, yeah, he's got to pay a fine or do some community service. I think the 49ers cut him, so you might need to figure out what you do at the linebacker position. If I'm the 49ers, actually, I'm drafting either Tremaine Edwards or Edmonds, or is it Edwards or Edmonds? I think it's Edmonds. Yeah, Edmonds from Virginia Tech or Roquan Smith out of Georgia. All right, I think that's one pick that they have to make with that 9th or 10th pick. You have to get one of those linebackers because, like I said, you don't know what's going to go on with Reuben Foster. And even if they decide to keep Reuben Foster, then pairing him with one of those linebackers in the draft would be disgusting. So, the 49ers aren't far off from contending. Like I said, re-signing Jimmy G makes them a playoff contender already. And if you start building around a good team and Jimmy G is the real deal, then they're not far off, like I said. So let's rank them, all right? Let's start from the bottom. I'm gonna start with the Bucks at the Jets at number 6, the Bucks at number 5, the Bears at number 4, the Giants at number 3. I'm gonna go Denver. I'm gonna go San Francisco at number 2. And then Denver at number 1, all right? Because like I said, if Denver gets Kirk Cousins, that's all they've needed in the last couple of years, just a quarterback that's competent, all right? So that's what I think as far as those teams and their chances winning a Super Bowl, all right? For the next segment, like I said, we're going to talk about the Oakland Raiders, the Washington Redskins, the Miami Dolphins, the Baltimore Ravens, the Colts, and the Seahawks. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, for that last segment, we talked about the Giants, Bears, Bucks, 49ers, Jets, and Broncos. Talked about their chances of getting back to a Super Bowl and winning one. Ranked them. I think I ranked it this way. I had the Broncos at number 1, 49ers at number 2, Giants at 3. I think I had the Bears at 4, Bucks at 5. That could be switched. I got to double check it. And then I had the Jets at number 6. All right, for this segment, we're going to go Oakland, we're going to go Washington, we're going to go Miami, we're going to go Baltimore, Indianapolis, and finish it off with Seattle. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start off with the Oakland Raiders. Okay, what are their chances looking like winning a Super Bowl anytime soon? Let me say this, all right? Their chances of winning a Super Bowl isn't going to be in Oakland. It's going to be in Vegas, I think, okay? Raiders got 1 to 2 more years left in Oakland, and that's tragic. I'm still not happy about it. All right, the Raiders should have never left Oakland. If anything, moving back to LA, but moving them to Vegas is the ultimate money grabbing, greedy move of all time. All right, Mark Davis is trying to get his pockets filled. I understand it. He's a big businessman, but as far as football goes, Oakland should not be leaving California. Okay, but nonetheless they are, so we got to deal with it. So let's talk Raiders. Let's talk about how their defense was probably by far the worst in the league. Okay, terrible. Secondary got burnt. All right, best player was Khalil Mack. After that, it was a big drop off. So, what do the Raiders need to do to get back? Obviously, from what I just told you, they need to go and actually learn how to get a real defense, draft real defensive players. Okay, because yeah, they were young. That defense was young, but they showed no signs of development. Let me tell you that, okay? None whatsoever. 0. Okay, so they need to fix up that defense first and foremost, and it's going to take a while, all right? Because like I said, they got to fix up everything about the defense, I feel. You got to fix up the linebackers. You got to fix up some of the D-line, all right? And you got to fix up that secondary, all right? And that's not you also got to figure out what you're doing at the running back position because Marshawn Lynch, he is all right. All right, you got to figure out what's going on with Amari Cooper's hands. Maybe have him see a specialist or something. Maybe him and Markelle Fultz are hanging out with the same people because both are a bunch of head cases, I feel. Because as far as catching the ball in the NFL, if you get like a drop problem, I feel like that's more of a mental thing than it is an ability thing. All right, obviously you don't make it to the NFL if you can't catch the ball before in college or anything like that. So, and it's not like Amari Cooper has had problems with drops a lot in his career, but this year was just bad, I feel like. It was bad. All right, you got to figure out what you're doing. Michael Crabtree, too. Are you going to keep him or are you going to let him go? All right, but as far as the Raiders, I mean, they're still pretty set on offense. All you got to do is teach Amari Cooper how to catch again. All right, Michael Crabtree was a nice little player for that offense. Big on third downs, big on red zone opportunities. All right, Marshawn Lynch, I think they need to give him the ball a lot more than what they did this past season. Derek Carr, he had a down year, I feel, due to the fact that his back was fractured, I think, for most of the season. It had to be. I mean, the dude fractures his back, misses a week, and comes back after that. And that's where the Raiders messed up there, all right? There's too much. They put way too much pressure on themselves to get a Super Bowl before they leave Oakland, or make the playoffs at least. So I think they messed up there as far as Derek Carr. Should have just sat him. Okay, should have sat him and pretty much waited and see until he was healthy. Because, like I said, I know that they want to win in Oakland before they leave, but it's not worth the risk of putting your franchise quarterback in danger. All right. So yeah, they got to fix up the defense first and foremost, and then pretty much, I mean, just little tiny things on the offense, and they're good. All right, the Raiders they were the most disappointing team in the NFL this season, but it's not like they have no talent, all right? They have talent. It's just you got to fix up some things here and there, all right? So that's what I think about the Raiders. As far as them winning the Super Bowl in the next 5 years, I mean, with John Gruden, it's possible, all right? If John Gruden figures out a way to fix up that defense, I mean, he did have a good defense in Tampa Bay. Some people say those were Tony Dungy's players, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. He won the Super Bowl, and that was one of the best defenses of all time, all right? So if John Gruden can figure out a way to fix up that defense within the next couple of years, then, I mean, the Raiders' chances of winning Super Bowl within, let's say, the next 5 years are pretty good, I would say. All right, so that's it about the Raiders. Let's talk about the Washington Redskins, okay, the Fighting Alex Smiths. So their chances of winning a Super Bowl, it's not happening within the next 7 years, next 5-6 years, okay? Alex Smith is a good quarterback, but they don't have the talent on that team to go out and get a Super Bowl win, all right? And that team is young, and they have talent, so I think they're going to be around for a while, but they don't have Super Bowl talent. All right? Tight ends are getting old. One really hasn't been the same since Cam Chancellor lit him up, talking about Vernon Davis, and the other is pretty much a walking bag of glass. As far as the receivers go, they're nothing to write home about. Running backs, I mean, for some reason, there's a curse on those running backs because they get hurt week after week, it feels like. And like I said, you finally got a good quarter. Well, you got good quarterback before, but I like Alex Smith, I think, better than I like Kirk Cousins. As far as the defense goes, I think it was a pretty good defense this year. Maybe you fix up a couple of things, but other than that, I mean, you just got to get better on the offensive end for the Redskins, all right? And I think that, I don't know, I feel like the Redskins fans and riders, stuff like that, are kind of getting tired of Jay Gruden. So maybe it's like as far as them going to a Super Bowl, it starts once they got to start fresh. All right, that's what I'm saying. They got to start fresh. All right, with this current regime, they're not winning a Super Bowl. With this current team, they're not winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. All right, they won't be competing for anything like that until they go through a full rebuild, which will take a few years. All right, so I say under 8 years for the Redskins to win a Super Bowl. I'm taking the over. Okay, so I mean the Redskins still got a whole lot they need to work on before they think about it. All right, let's talk about the next team, the good old Miami Dolphins. All right, team hasn't won a Super Bowl since '73. All right, Dan Marino lost a bunch of them. So what are their chances looking like now? All right, let's look at the team. Defense, secondary is pretty young. Xavier Howard had, I guess you could say, a breakout year. Looked good. Had 2 picks against Brady, also 2 picks against the Broncos. Cordrea Tankersley he was a rookie, all right, so he looked good from time to time. And then you got Tony Lippett, who tore his ACL in training camp, but before that was looking like a starting corner on that team, so it's going to be nice getting him back. Your safety position, you got both of those locked up, Rashad Jones, TJ McDonald. Linebackers, actually let's talk D-line first, right? D-line getting older, but Charles Harris had himself a nice little year. All right, you got Ndamukong Suh still. Jordan Phillips looked like he was getting better. You got David Godchaux too. Cameron Wake is getting older, so eventually you're going to have to worry about that. But he did have double-digit sack totals this year too, I think. And then you got Andre Branch, who you got locked up, all right? So their biggest problem on the defense has been at the linebacker position. All right, it's been probably their biggest problem for what? The last 5 years? 5 to 7 years? All right? They drafted Raekwon McMillan in the second round last year. Tore his ACL on a special teams playing for the first preseason game, I think it was. Looking to come back this year. Probably going to become the starter if he's healthy. All right. So let's see. You got Kiko Alonso. You still got Lawrence Timmons. And you got Raekwon McMillan. All right. There's a possibility in the draft that they go for a guy like Roquan Smith or Tremaine Edmonds or Edwards. I think it's Edmonds, all right, from Virginia Tech. But I'm not sure if those guys are slipping behind the 49ers or the Raiders. Okay? I think if the 49ers feel they need to go towards the secondary, then that's where you end up getting a guy there. But either way, I feel like if I'm Miami, it's pretty much Roquan Smith or bust. I do like Edmonds, but I just think that Smith is that game-changing player on the defense. All right, you bring him in, then boom, he's pretty much gonna help fix it, like mask a lot of the problems you have. All right, as far as the offensive end goes, right now their only two receivers on the roster are Devontae Parker and Kenny Stills. All right, as far as the top two, you still got guys like Leonte Carroo, Jakeem Grant. Jakeem Grant's a bit of a wild card X factor right there. All right, was lined up more on the outside and did well, but they're still trying to work out a deal with Jarvis Landry, and I think that Miami needs to pull out the pocketbooks and give him $13 to $14 million a year. All right, you don't pay a guy what you think he's worth. You pay him what the market says he's worth. All right, Demaryius Thomas, T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton's getting 13 mil. Demaryius Thomas is getting 14. Jarvis Landry had better stats than both of those guys this season. You got to pay him 13 to 14 million because if you don't, someone else is, and he's going to go play well at someone else's team. All right, team like Chicago, they're not afraid to go and give him like 14 million. All right, they need receivers badly. So if I'm Miami, I mean, you want to go ahead and see, go ahead, go look. You're not going to get that kind of money. They're going to be so wrong. All right, so you got to worry about that. At running back position, you got Kenyon Drake, probably going to end up drafting a guy in the mid-rounds in this draft too. As far as the offensive line goes, Larry Tunsil had a bit of a bad year playing left tackle. Going to kind of, like every second-year player usually takes a step back, but eventually it's his third year is where you look. As far as the rest of our offensive line, Juwan James got hurt, so you got to worry about him a bit coming back. You got to figure out what's going on at the guard position too, and eventually you're going to have to find Mike Pouncey's replacement. So as far as them getting back to the Super Bowl, I mean, it all really depends on the quarterback position. All right. Ryan Tannehill is the ultimate, this is his year. He's going to break out. He's that player. All right. Looked like it was going to be this year. Then he fully tears his ACL in training camp. Miami's got to figure out what to do at the quarterback position. All right. They're only going to go as far as that takes them. I think that honestly, they're either going to go, if Roquan Smith isn't there, then they're going to go Baker Mayfield at number 11. All right. The Riders and all that are pushing the Baker Mayfield train. If Miami gets Mayfield, maybe you can have him sit behind Tannehill for a year or two and then eventually throw him out there. But nonetheless, Miami's chances winning the Super Bowl depends on the quarterback position. All right. You got a pretty solid team around. But nonetheless, I mean, look what happened with them the year before. They went 10-6. Then this year they go throw Jay Cutler out there, one of the worst offenses in the league. So pretty much they'll go as far as the quarterback takes them. As for the Baltimore Ravens, a team who's kind of on the downfall, it's looking like. All right, talked about before how I'm not sure if John Harbaugh is going to be back with the Ravens after this year if they miss out in the playoffs. And you know what? I think just like the Redskins, the Ravens' chances of going back to a Super Bowl and winning one aren't going to happen until they do full-on rebuild. Joe Flacco has gotten worse since the Super Bowl. And when I say worst, he's gotten like really bad. Okay, hasn't done well. Running back position is all right. Haven't had solid receivers in I don't know how long. Defense plays well, but nonetheless, I think that it's the beginning of the end for this Ravens team. So if I had to say over under 6 years for them winning a Super Bowl, I'm taking the over there. All right. So, I mean, that's really all you got to say about the Ravens. There's not much to say about them as far as getting there. They need to either do well in this draft and pretty much hide Joe Flacco's inefficiencies, or they just got to do a full-on rebuild in order to get back. Then you got the Indianapolis Colts. Hired their new head coach, Frank Reich. All right. Their chances of winning a Super Bowl depend on a certain quarterback's shoulder, okay? Andrew Luck comes back and his shoulder still isn't healthy or whatever, and Andrew Luck just isn't the same quarterback, then their chances of making it to a Super Bowl are pretty dim. All right, if I'm the Colts and I think that Andrew Luck is going to be healthy by week 1, I'm drafting Saquon Barkley. That could make them a playoff team. All right, let's not forget the kind of quarterback Andrew Luck was when he was healthy. All right, top 5 for sure, got him to an AFC championship with guys like me out there. All right, you still got T.Y. Hilton, and you got to fix up the defense, but I think you could do that in the draft. So as far as the Colts getting back there, I mean, it all depends on Andrew Luck. If he gets back, then they have nice little chances of making the playoffs. And like I said, Andrew Luck's the top 5 quarterback when he's out there, so we'll see about them. And then for the final team, the Seattle Seahawks. They're a good team. All right, you got Russell Wilson, top 7 quarterback, I'd say. All right, you've already won a Super Bowl before. You've been to 2 in the last, 5 years? You got to fix up the running back position. You got to fix up the offensive line, and you got to little oil changes on the defense, all right? Pick up little pieces and pretty much keep it going. The team's getting old, so you got to bring in those young guys to eventually take over. All right, the Seahawks aren't really far off. Barely missed the playoffs this year, but I still think their Super Bowl window is pretty open. So, I mean, as far as them winning it within the next 4 years, I think their chances are pretty good. All right, so those are the 6 teams I talked about. Now let's rank them. All right, I'm going to go for the 6 teams I talked about. We'll go Seattle at number 1. We'll go the Raiders at number 2. The Colts, I'd put them at number 3, but that's only if Andrew Luck is healthy this season. So I'm going to say Andrew Luck's going to be healthy by week 1. I'll put them at 3. Then I'll put a team like Miami at number 4, Baltimore at 5, and then Washington at 6. All right, if I had to rank all 12 teams, it'd go like this. Let me start from the bottom here. All right, I'd go with the Jets at number 12. All right, this is going to be tough. All right, I got the Jets at number 12. Then I'll go Washington at number 11. The Ravens at number 10. Bucks at number 9. The Bears at number 8. Let's see. Let's go the Miami at number 7. I'll go at number 6. We'll go with the Colts at number. Let's say 7 Miami, 6 Colts. We'll see. We'll figure out. I kind of lost my place. So at number 5, let's see how many teams I got. We got Oakland left, Denver left, San Francisco. That's 3. The Giants, and then Seattle. All right, so we got 5 teams left. All right, at number 5, I'll go with the Raiders. Then we'll go with the Giants at 4, the 49ers at 3, Denver at 2, and then to round it out, we'll go with the Seattle Seahawks at number 1. All right, so those are my rankings for teams closest to winning a Super Bowl. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're pretty much going to talk about whatever comes to my mind as far as football. All right, it's the offseason. We're going to get creative, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far in today's show, we talked about Larry Fitzgerald coming back to the Cardinals. All right, started the first segment talking about that. Larry Fitz deserves it. Guy doesn't really get enough credit. All right, and then for the second and third segment, we talked about the Giants, Bears, Bucks, 49ers, Jets, Broncos, Raiders, Redskins, Dolphins, Ravens, Colts, and Seahawks as far as what their chances are of getting back to a Super Bowl. All right, on next Tuesday's show, we'll talk about the remaining 8 teams that are left. All right, we'll talk about the good teams. Okay, so we'll be doing that. But that's how the show has gone so far. For this one, as you know, it's always just the whatever comes to Jesse Toppy's mind about football segment or any other random news going on out there. All right, so that's the offseason. Not too much news going on, but we're going to make it work because that's what we do, all right? So the NFL named 5 finalists to host the draft in 2019 or 2020, all right? It's Cleveland/Canton, Tennessee, Kansas City, Denver, and Vegas, all right? Those are the 5 finalists. You can't host the draft 2 years in a row, so 2 teams will be picked out of those 5. Let me tell you already who's going to get 1. It's going to be Vegas, all right? Sorry, Raider fans, but Vegas is going to be hosting a draft, all right? Not Oakland anytime soon, or ever, I guess you could say now. So, yeah, one of those years is going to... Actually, you know what? Whatever year the Raiders go to Vegas is going to be the year that Vegas hosts the draft, all right? Whether it's 2019 or 2020. The Raiders could leave after this year, or they could wait another year, I think, and leave in 2020. So, Vegas is going to get one of those spots. Then it's down to Cleveland, Tennessee, Kansas City, and Denver. I say give it to Cleveland, all right? Giving the draft to the city of Cleveland is like having a team play the Super Bowl in their home stadium, all right? So what I'm getting at is like the draft is pretty much like Cleveland's Super Bowl year after year, all right? Usually they're the home team. So I say, you know what? give them the draft, all right? Have Cleveland have their Super Bowl, meaning the draft, in their home city. I mean, it'd probably mean a lot to that team, all right? And you know what? It kind of stinks because Cleveland isn't going to be a team that is picking number one year after year after this season, I think. All right, I think they're going to do some smart things, all right? They've hired a lot of good, smart front office guys in the this year, all right? All they need is a quarterback. Defense is looking good. They hired Todd Haley to be their offensive coordinator. I really like that hire there. So I think the years of Browns' misery is over, all right? But if they could give us one more year of misery so we could see them draft number one in their home city, would be an all-timer right there, all right? But as far as the draft goes, like I said, it's probably, if I had to make a true, real pick, I doubt it's going to be Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't really seem, it's going to be, I don't know, it's kind of weird, all right? I say it's going to be Vegas. I got to go Vegas and Cleveland, actually. Yeah, I think it's going to be those two cities for 2019 and 2020, all right? Vegas for sure, though. If I had to put money on it, I would. But I'm only worth about $20 now, so, yeah. Let's see, anything else going on in the world of football? Like I said, A.J. McCarron's going to become a free agent. Going to be interesting to see where he ends up. All right, like I said, he could end up with the Browns, could end up with the Cardinals. I think that he's going to be a nice little Sam Bradford 2.0 type of guy. All right, not sure really he's going to be throwing 4,000 yards or anything like that, but he's going to be a safe little quarterback. And just imagine, dude, all this, becomes a free agent, goes to start, and he just stinks it up. All right, then also we have an end of an era. Okay. We have the Raiders cutting ties with Sebastian Janikowski. All right. The ultimate Raider, team MVP for what seemed like, 10 years in a row before they got Derek Carr. I remember it was always either going to be, it was always jokes too. It was either him or Shane Leckler as the team MVP from 2002 to whenever Derek Carr got drafted, I feel. All right. So it's over. He's not coming back to the Raiders. Okay. Dude is probably a top 10 Raider all time. That's hilarious, too, because he's a kicker. But yeah, top 10 Raider all time. Let's see. Is he trying to... I'm trying to read the article here. Maybe he's trying to... He said he intends to keep playing. All right. His agent said that he's at 39. He's too young to retire. And that kind of makes sense, too, because you've got guys like Adam Vinatieri, who's about 70 years old, still kicking out there. Let's see who else is pretty old. Let's look at the kickers, all right? We're going to talk kickers in this last segment because that's what we do. We share it everyone. Let's see, kickers in the NFL. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the ages, too, because it's going to be a while. Let's see. Oldest. Let's see if we can find it out. Let me see. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, you guys, but nonetheless, let's see. 40 and over club, oldest players in the NFL. Maybe we got it here. It's got to be like a list of kickers, dude, because kickers just do not go anywhere. Oh, yeah, so Phil... Oh, yeah, it's a thing of kickers, all right? The first four oldest players in the league are kickers, all right? You got Adam Vinatieri, who's 44, so yeah, he's like 70 years old. Phil Dawson, who's 42, all right? They could be a year older now, but I'm pretty sure it's 42 now, all right? Then you got Matt Bryant, 42 years old. Shane Leckler, 41. And, Shane Leckler's not going anywhere, dude. That's a Raiders legend right there. Now he's with the Texans. The Raiders got to retire his jersey. And I'm just being completely joking right now, by the way. And you got Janikowski at 39. So Janikowski's still got a bunch of years ahead of him, dude. Kickers have, the ultimate careers, dude. If you're a good kicker, you could be around for as long as you want. Like I said, just look at Adam Vinatieri, dude. The dude's 70 years old, still out here kicking the ball through the uprights, all right? That's crazy, dude. Adam Vinatieri's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. It's ridiculous. I don't know. If Adam Vinatieri's a Hall of Famer, do you think that when it's all said and done, is Justin Tucker a Hall of Famer, the kicker for the Ravens? Dude does not miss. Let me see if I can find Justin Tucker's kicking stats, because this is ridiculous. He literally does not miss whatsoever. I think the only miss he had this season was a blocked field goal. Let's see, Justin Tucker's stats. I don't think I've ever looked up a kicker's stats before, but we're in the offseason, so this is what we do. All right, let's see. All right, yes, we got it right here. All right, 2012, he started his career. First year, he made 30 out of his 33 kicks. 2013 made 38 out of his 41 kicks. 2015 was a down year too. 2014, he only made 29 out of his 34. 2015 only made 33 out of his 40 kicks. And then the last 2 years, dude's been money. All right. Actually, 2016 was the year the only kick he missed was blocked. All right, 2016, I was 38 out of 39 kicks made, and then 2017 made 34 out of 37. All right, let me see Adam Vinatieri's numbers. All right, let's compare side by side. Adam Vinatieri stats. I love how they got kicker stats up here, dude. All right, so Vinatieri's been around since 96. That's a long time. All right. Started off with the Patriots. First year. I'm not going to go through every year. All right. I'm just going to go through the recent ones. Let's see. I don't know. I can't go through this. It's way too many years. I can't go through 17, 20 years worth of stats, however many long. All right. But this past year, Vinatieri kicked 29, made 29 of his 34. The year before that, made 27 out of 31. 2015, made 25 out of 27. 2014, made 30 out of 31. So, yeah, Vinatieri, he's a good kicker. All right, as far as Justin Tucker becoming a Hall of Famer, now that I think about it, he's not going to because of the fact that Vinatieri has those clutch moments. All right, Vinatieri has kicked game-winning field goals in the Super Bowl. All right, Justin Tucker has not. He's just kicked in the Super Bowl. All right, so as far as Justin Tucker making it to the Hall of Fame, he's got the kicking numbers, but he's just like Matt Stafford. All right, Matt Stafford's got the Hall of Fame numbers, but he needs those playoff accolades. Yeah, is that what they called? I don't know. He needs that playoff success. So that's it for kickers right there. I think we're gonna let's see. No, we still got more time in the show. What else should we talk about today? I don't know. There's not much going on in the NFL right now. I saw too that Matt Ryan was the only quarterback to play every single snap for his team. And that's pretty good for a quarterback, because if he's the only quarterback to do that, obviously that means that the quarterback position, I guess you could say, is one that is difficult to play. Let me see. There's only 32 players who took every snap this past season. Let me see if I can find that out, because that's actually pretty interesting to me. Or is this just a Matt Ryan article? Let's see. All right, so it was the offensive linemen were the ones to do it. All right, for the non-offensive linemen. All right, so yeah, for the 32 players, only 4 of them did not play offensive line, okay? Those players were Christian Kirksey, Cleveland Browns linebacker, or they were linebacker, and Joe Schobert, also a Cleveland Browns linebacker, and also New York Jets linebacker Demario Davis. That's pretty good, actually, for linebackers to play, because linebacker position is probably one of the toughest to play in sports. All right, but yeah, good for Matt Ryan playing every snap this season. All right, let's see. In 2016, 4 quarterbacks played every snap: Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Kirk Cousins, and Matt Stafford. So, it's good for Matt Ryan to play every snap. But that's where we're going to wrap up today's podcast. All right, today we talked about Larry Fitzgerald coming back to the Cardinals for another year. Talked about 12 teams. Talked about their chances of making it to Super Bowl and winning it anytime soon. Split those up in the second and third segments. And for this one, we talked kickers, we talked AJ McCarron, we talked possible draft hosting cities, and we talked players who played every snap. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back next Tuesday, so stay tuned till then, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.